Hello, my name is Thompson, and for my scenario, I learned about baking science. The first thing I'm going to teach you about is the chemistry of cookies. At 92 degrees Fahrenheit, the butter in the cookie dough melts and the dough starts to spread. When this butter melts, it releases water, which creates steam. The steam pushes against the inside of the cookie dough, which causes the dough to bubble. When cookie dough gets to 136 degrees Fahrenheit, the salmonella bacteria die off. The salmonella bacteria are found in raw eggs and raw AP flour. At 144 degrees Fahrenheit, proteins in the cookie dough start to change. These proteins come mostly from the eggs. When these proteins are straight from the chicken egg, they look like coiled up strands of string. When they are cooked, they uncoil and combine to form a more solid substance, which creates soft cookie dough. Water evaporates away at 212 degrees Fahrenheit. This is how cookies dry out and become hard. The steam evaporates and leaves behind air pockets that make the cookie light and flaky. Baking soda is also participating in this process by reacting with acids in the dough. This produces carbon dioxide, which produces pockets of air in the cookies. At 310 degrees Fahrenheit, the Maillard reactions occur. This is when sugars and proteins decompose and reorder themselves. This forms structures similar to rings. These ring-like structures mirror light and provide food with its famous brown shade. These ring structures create lots of flavor and scent combinations. These combinations respond to form additional intricate tastes and smells. The last reaction inside the cookie is caramelization. Caramelization happens under high heat when sugar molecules divide, producing the sweet, nutty, and faintly bitter flavor combination that describes caramel. In a 350-degree oven, caramelization cannot occur because the minimum temperature for caramelization is 365 degrees. A cookie lighter in color can be baked at 310 degrees Fahrenheit. Cookies browner in color can be baked up to 390 degrees Fahrenheit because caramelization can occur up to 390 degrees Fahrenheit. When you smell the scent of the Maillard reaction and caramelization, your cookies are done. You do not need a timer to determine this, all you need is your nose. The next thing I'm going to tell you about is what each ingredient does. Flour forms gluten when combined with water. Gluten is a long molecule that assists in confining air bubbles in yeasty baked goods, such as bread. Too much gluten can equal tough cookies. The right amount of gluten gives cookies support and keeps them from spreading too much. Sugar contains glucose and sucrose. Sugar absorbs water. Brown sugar is made of white sugar and molasses. Brown sugar creates a chewy cookie. Baking soda reacts with acid and the other ingredients and releases carbon dioxide. This creates height in the cookies. Baking powder contains acid and creates gas bubbles. Eggs add moisture and they also act as a binder. Butter is an emulsion. It is made of fat, water, and binding dairy solids. The water is rolled up into the fat molecules. Melted butter creates more gluten, while solid butter creates less gluten. Vanilla extract adds flavor and scent to the cookies. Salt counteracts the sweetness from the other ingredients, and chocolate chips add flavor. For my scenario, I experimented with 4 different types of flour, and in a normal cookie recipe, instead of using all-purpose flour, I substituted 100% for the other types of flours. The first flour I used was sweet potato flour. Sweet potato flour should not be baked at a temperature higher than 350 degrees. If you decide to mix a few different types of flour together, sweet potato flour can be incorporated up to 25%. You can use 100% sweet potato flour in cookies, muffins, and quick breads. When you want to use sweet potato flour in cakes, breads, and other baked goods, you should use a flour mix for structure. Sweet potato flour is also gluten-free. This slide shows sweet potato flour cookie compared to an all-purpose flour cookie. The sweet potato flour cookie is darker, harder, and it has more texture. The next flour I used was chickpea flour. Chickpea flour is gluten-free, high in fiber, most used as a substitute for whole wheat flour. It can create chewiness, has a nutty flavor, contains lots of vitamins and minerals, and it is also known as garbanzo bean flour. The chickpea flour cookie was flatter, it spread more, it had more bubbles, and it lacked structure. It was very flimsy. The third flour I used was coconut flour. Coconut flour needs extra liquid, it is high in fiber, high in protein, gluten-free, it can create a gritty texture, so if you are using it, it's best to sift. For every 1/4 cup of coconut flour, you should add 1 egg for structure and moisture. When using coconut flour as a substitute, you may also need to change bake times for your baked good or add more liquids to the dough or batter. 1 cup of all-purpose flour is the equivalent to a 1/4 cup of coconut flour. The coconut flour cookie was taller, it had a smaller diameter, it had more texture, and it was lighter in color. The fourth and final flour I used was cauliflower flour. It is high in fiber content. It has 6 grams of protein per serving. It can be used as a flour substitute or combined with other flours. It is best if used as a thickener in soups, sauces, and dips, a breading for meat, fish, or vegetables, or in pizza crust, flatbreads, wraps, and pasta. It is gluten-free and it is less absorbent than normal flour, so it is recommended to use 25% liquid in your dough or batter for the ideal baked good. The cauliflower flour cookie was darker, it spread less, it had a smaller diameter, it had more cracks, and it smelled very bad. The next part of my scenario is that I conducted a blind taste test and had the taste testers fill out a survey. In the survey, Cookie 1 has sweet potato flour, Cookie 2 has chickpea flour, Cookie 3 has coconut flour, and Cookie 4 has cauliflower flour. As you can see, in question 1, the majority of people thought that Cookie 3 tasted the best. Cookie 3 was coconut flour. The majority of people thought that Cookie 4 was the most dense. Cookie 4 was cauliflower flour. The majority of people thought that Cookie 2 was the chewiest. This was the chickpea flour. The majority of people thought that Cookie 4 tasted the worst. That was cauliflower flour. The majority of people thought that Cookie 4 also looked the most appetizing, which was cauliflower flour. The cookies that looked the least appetizing, it was tied between Cookie 1 and Cookie 2, which was sweet potato flour and chickpea flour. Cookie 1 had an average rating of 2.55 stars. Cookie 2 had an average rating of 4.15 stars. Cookie 3 had an average rating of 4.05 stars. Cookie 4 had an average rating of 1.65 stars. From the survey, everyone thought the description of the sweet potato flour cookie had a burnt caramelized flavor. It just tasted weird, and it tasted very chocolatey. People described the chickpea flour cookie as crunchy, chewy, and thin. The coconut flour cookie was described as coconutty, dry, and crumbly. The description of the cauliflower flour cookie was that it tasted like vegetables, it was gross, and it was crunchy. Thank you for listening.